Okay, we have 1.R, question E20 here, and yet another question about discrimination. So this is a recurring theme. This is a major tool of statistics, is to tell whether something is random or whether there's some suspicious non-random pattern going on. So we have 15 workers, gives the ages of each workers. The ones in bold are the ones that are laid off. Below, we have a simulation with 600 repetitions. So what's going on here is that in order to find out if the average age of being laid off is something that's acceptable by chance or whether it's some kind of suspicious pattern, what they're doing is putting 15 numbers in a number generator, pulling out 5 of those numbers, taking the average of the 5, these are the ones that are simulated getting laid off, and then whatever the average of those 5 is, it puts a single dot on this chart. So what's happening is each of these 600 dots represents a single repetition where they chose 5 out of the 15, took an average, made a dot. Took 5 out of the 15, got an average, made a dot. So now we want to take the real situation. We know the 5 that actually did get laid off. We want to take the average, and then we want to see where does that fall compared to where the simulation results ended up. So let's grab the calculator here, and one thing I've noticed, it's easier to use the number pad on the computer than to actually select these with the mice, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm taking 37 plus 43 plus 45 plus 55 plus 60, hitting enter. So the total age added up of the workers laid off is 240, but I want to get the average, so I'm dividing that by 5 to get 48. In other words, in the actual situation, the average age of the ones that were laid off was 48. Now, how does that compare to the 600 repetitions where they got the average age if it were done at random? Well, we see this is 45. We look at the scale to notice that each of these columns represents 1 year. So if we have 48, we're going 46, 47, 48. This is where our dot would have gone if it were a simulation, although in fact it was the actual. And we want to know the average age as large or larger than the average age in the simulation. So we have 48, we have right here. We basically just need to calculate the dots that are positioned at 48 or greater. So 48, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. We have another 5 here, that's 12. And I notice we have a 3 by 3 square here, that's 9. So 12 plus 9 gives us 21. 21 of the dots are at least as high as what we had for the actual age of laid off. So if we want to know the probability of getting within these 21 dots, if we're doing the simulation, what we need to do is take 21, so 21 of the dots were as high as the actual age or higher, and we're dividing that by 600 to get 0.035. Notice here that they put a percent next to the box, meaning that we need to convert this proportion to a percent. So I'm taking the decimal over 2 spots to get 3.5%, and that's what we would expect by chance alone. So now, if we have this person suing for discrimination, would East Banco have some explaining to do? So this is questionable, and this is a case where I would accept either answer if you write me and tell me. So the cutoff was 2.5%, correct? We're usually looking at things that are less than 2.5%. Here we have 3.5%. So it would seem that, okay, well, this is possible to happen by random chance, so East Banco doesn't really have any explaining to do. Now, another way we could look at that is The 2.5% comes from looking at 2.5% on the low end, 2.5% on the high end. Since we know that age discrimination is not going to happen at the low end for layoffs, then we might put this 5% up here. In other words, if this number was less than 5%, it could suggest age discrimination. Another way to look at this, in an actual law case, they're not going to use the 2.5 as a strict cutoff. What's going to happen is, if you're around that, then there's some room for suspicion. So because this is so close to the 2.5, it's enough that there would be some explaining. Now, East Banco might come out on top, but it's low enough percent to happen by random chance that there probably would be some explaining. That said, I do think that this question is could go either way. So this is one where on a test I would accept either solution, either answer there.